Greetings, everybody. Good to be with you yet again on another episode of the Shakedown. Hope that as you guys are listening to these, you're getting some information that is food for thought, a help to you, an encouragement to you. Maybe at times provides a little conviction or challenge to you, whichever the case may be. But anyway, good to be back with Miss Barbara Gould again as we continue our talk about working with generations. And prior to starting the recording, we had a conversation that we probably should have been recording because it was brilliant, y'all. Just take my word for it. Some brilliant stuff was said. But the point being, we share an interest in the psychological side of things, and talking about some research that I've been doing as far as looking at personalities, types, person's love language, and then where they find satisfaction, where they find security, and the correlation between those three. And the thing that I found fascinating from a professional perspective, because I've potentially use some of my staff as research material. If there's any Morgan County folks listening, I disavow that we had this conversation. But it has been interesting to me now that we've started talking about this generational aspect to it, that looking back on some of the numbers as I pulled them and look at some of the research, how I've been thinking through some of that as we've been conversing about, hey, wait a minute, that there is a generational component that I can see, when I talk to, whether it's family members, whether it's, my mom or whether it's one of my in-laws, and, whether or not I actually have them take a personality assessment, I'm performing said personality assessment in conversations.
Right.
Because, that's just the way we operate. As my wife says, are you getting diagnostic with folks? I most definitely am. Definitely am getting diagnostic with folks. But anyway, when you think about the generational aspect of it, the thing that that jumps out at me the most is, regardless of personality type, is what they are looking for to satisfy.
Yes.
My parents are both educators, so growing up, education was paramount.
Right.
You get that diploma. You have good grades, so that.
Right.
You don't stop with high school. I mean, why would you? You have to keep going.
Right.
And, regardless of, if you get a bachelor's, well, that's great. Congratulations. So what are you taking for your master's? I mean, the drive to the constant gaining of information, that learning is a priority. And that's been a priority my entire life, because that was the way I was raised, is that as long as you're learning, that's progress. That's something that, for me personally, that brings satisfaction. But you mentioned in our last episode talking about people reading, there's times I've started conversations with folks and I'll be like, you really need to read this book. And as soon as I say the word book, the eyes glaze over and I'm thinking, oh, well, this conversation just crashed and burned. But again, what is it that you find valuable? What is it that you find... What are you seeking for that satisfaction?
Right.
And I'd be interested to, hear as far as, as you've researched this, is there a clear distinction, a measurable distinction when you look at generational as to what people are looking for that satisfaction?
Yes, there is. Absolutely. And a lot of it is based off of that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If nobody's familiar with that, I encourage you, look it up.
Oh, yeah.
It'll give you just, brief descriptions depending on where you go. But the bottom of the pyramid is the physiological needs.
Right.
So you need air, you need water, you need food, you need shelter, clothing. Yes. I think depending on the pyramid, sex is in there.
Okay.
Because, if people think back, procreating meant that humans survived.
Sure.
So that's all on the bottom rung. Then you go up to safety, feeling safe in employment, resources, having enough food. It's not, is there food? It's having enough food.
Sure.
So that mindset has kind of changed a little bit. Family, good health is all in there. You go to love and belonging. Is kind of at the middle of the pyramid. I keep calling it period. Geez, maybe it should be a circle instead of a pyramid.
We are changing it to now it's a circle.
Yes, it's a circle. But that's your friendships, that's your family,
Okay.
That's who you love, that fits in that middle pyramid. And then we move up to esteem. So we've met all these other needs. We have food, we have water, we have shelter, we have love, we have family, we have good employment. So now we move up to self-esteem. What do we need in self-esteem? Do we need confidence? Do we need to be acknowledged when we achieve something?
Right.
Like, that's where that falls in. And the very top is self-actualization. So we're not seeking that attaboy from other people. We're looking for that self-fulfillment.
Right.
So that's at the very top of the pyramid. And if you look at the generations, and we'll just start with boomers, like the boomers are still at the bottom. They're still at the bottom. They're still making sure those physiological needs are being met, the food, the water, the
Right.
shelter. And they kind of progress over into that safety. Us Generation Xers, we don't worry about that bottom rung of the pyramid. We've already moved up to safety.
Right.
And then we're going to love and belonging.
Right.
So now we're looking at relationships, and you can see that in different things throughout our generation. Look at the TV shows for
sure.
us Generation Xers that were
sure.
out there. I think of like moonlighting. Sorry that might touch a nerve with some people. Yes, that's making us old. But MTV, and when MTV first came out with the very first The Real World,
Yes.
and they put all these people in and relationships and dynamics, like that was new, that was crazy. Nowadays, there are a ton of different reality shows, all sorts of different demographics, and so it's changed. And then you move on to Generation Y, or your millennials, and they're smack dab in the middle of the pyramid. Like, they don't worry about family and relationships. They've been loved by their family all along. There's never been any up and downs and all that. So, they're right in the middle, and they're moving into self-esteem. They want those kudos from people. They want
Right.
those attaboys. There's a study out there, 60% of millennials want to hear from a first-line supervisor or above every day. They want confirmation that they're doing a good job.
Okay.
So you look at that, if you're a leader or you're thinking about promoting,
Sure.
okay, I'm going to have these people under me, and millennials is quickly becoming the biggest
Right.
workforce out there.
Right.
And this doesn't apply, qualifier, this doesn't apply to everybody, and I get
Right,
it.
right.
This is generational
Yes.
generalizing. But these people want attaboys all the time. They want to be told every day they're doing a good job. I don't know about you, but when I started, I had some crusty supervision that was a little old and probably should have retired a couple decades before they did. But they would basically come on, and some of them I was lucky if I got a grunt.
Yes.
Like, they were there to sign my book to prove that they were there, and unless there was somebody on fire, like, they didn't want to hear about it.
Yes.
Like, no, and then it kind of progressed, and I have a supervisor that'd come on and be like, hey, how's it going? Everything going okay today? Okay, this is a little better. We got a little dialogue going. Well, now the younger generation, they want that supervisor to come in and ask how everything's going, but they also want to, hear, hey, I did a good job for my supervisor.
Right.
This validates that I should keep doing what I'm doing.
Yes.
So now the young ones, and they're young, they're 18 to 25. And, I had mentioned in the previous podcast that, we're kind of parenting them a little still.
Sure.
If for no other reason than the human brain doesn't fully finish developing till around 25.
Right.
So when we're getting these young kids in, they're very impressionable. They're following what they see on social media.
Right.
They need to hear from us. And they're going to need that validation because they're at that self-esteem. They're looking for fulfillment, self-fulfillment. They're not that, and that's it.
Right.
They have all these other needs met their whole life.
Yes.
So now they want to be a part of something, they want to be included in something, they want to feel like they're doing something good. So we need to help them realize that.
Yes.
Get to that point. So.
And, it is, again, not to sound like the old guy, regardless of the gray hair that is growing in leaps and bounds. Anyways, beside the point. By the way, just for the record, the inmates did not put it there. That is a confirmed fact. But when you think about if I want to be a successful leader, and hopefully there's nobody out there that is like, I really don't care if I'm a successful leader. I'm the leader, and that's just what. I mean, there may be some folks out there. If there are some folks out there like that, retire. But that's my suggestion for what it's worth. But anyway, if I want to be successful as a leader, I hate to use the word pays me, but it benefits me.
Yes.
To understand what it is that individual that I'm responsible for, this employee, what they are looking for, what they're, I think I use the illustration, my wife is a plant fanatic. She loves plants. I probably couldn't name more than 3 plants if you took trees out of the list. I don't know a thing about them. And in the years that we've been married, I've spent lots of money on plants that I couldn't tell you what it was. It was of no value necessarily to me directly. I couldn't care less about this plant.
Right.
I mean, in my mind, there's 3 kinds of plants. There's the kinds you eat.
Yes.
There's the kind you mow completely down, and then there are those you don't mow down. Not sure why, but they're marked so you go around them. My point being, I know she enjoys it.
Yeah.
And that's a connection point.
Yes.
So I connect with her there.
Right.
Well, not that I'm buying my employees flowers, but the point being, what is their connection point?
Right.
For some of those, if you have someone that maybe they're a little older, I show up at their workplace and I'm like, hey, how's it going? Have anything going on? What's this, that? And I'm asking these questions. They're annoyed.
Right.
Why are you here asking me questions? Is there a problem?
Right.
Why are you bothering me?
I'm self-sufficient. I
Yes.
don't need you here.
Yes.
Why are you here? Can you go?
Yes.
Yeah.
But then the other one, if I just walk past and get a head nod, now they think I'm mad at them.
Yes.
Am I in trouble? Why is he mad at me? Is there something wrong?
He didn't say anything.
Yeah. Yes.
He just nodded.
And so in my mind, I made eye contact. We're good.
Right.
But there's friction there that
Yes.
technically I caused simply because I didn't come at it with the right expectation, the right knowledge of what they were looking for from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is something that, as a when we look at supervisor training, and bringing some of these young folks up as far as to be supervisors, it's interesting. I've just noticed the fact that, when I got my first promotion as a frontline supervisor, as a corporal, I understood that, okay, I'm a supervisor,
Right.
but barely.
Right.
So that warden or that lieutenant, they really don't care what I think. I'm a corporal.
Right.
Hush. You
Right.
sit over there and do your job.
Right.
But, again, you have someone that's newly promoted. They are ready to just, here are the ideas. Here is
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's kind of funny to me because my expectation is, well, why are you talking? You're a corporal. Why are you conversing? But
Right.
when it comes to how I'm going to interact with the people they're responsible for, often they have a better understanding of how to connect with those people
Yes.
than I do.
Right.
So giving them a proverbial seat at the table
Yeah.
as far as that motivation, retention,
Yes.
all those type things,
Yeah.
they're probably going to be a lot better at it than I am just because of the generational understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I tell a lot of supervisors as they're new, when you do a round, at least once a day, when you're on one of your rounds, talk to somebody you haven't really talked to before.
Sure.
Find those values. Find the connection, not just between you and them, but between them and the agency. Find what they find important. Because like you said, plants mean nothing to you, but it does to your significant other, to
Right.
your wife.
Yes.
So therefore, you are going to invest some time in talking to her about them or asking her about them because that's what she likes.
Right.
And it's no different. Everybody, regardless of generation, wants to feel valued and respected.
Right.
It's just how we go about making them feel that way.
Sure.
Because as a leader, that is your responsibility.
Right.
It
Right.
it is. Times have changed. The autocratic way is no more.
Yes.
Like you don't get respect through fear anymore. You get hatred and losing staff through fear. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Right.
So yeah, it's really understanding what motivates people is the bottom line.
Awesome. Well, guys, that is we've got time for today. But I will tell you, as I said last time, if you are in a position of leadership, something definitely to consider. And I will tell you, as you do some digging into this, you will find there's not a whole lot of research out there, but it is there to be found. So do some digging. If you want to be an effective leader, it means you're going to have to be a student for the entire time that you are in a position of leadership, to make sure that we stay sharp, we stay ahead of the game, to know how do we inspire these people to follow us, to follow the vision of the agency or the department, and to keep corrections not just a viable career choice, but something to be proud of, something to pursue and do very well. Well, guys, I appreciate you being with us on this episode. I appreciate Miss Barbara being with us for these 4 episodes and giving us some phenomenal information. As always, guys, if you got any questions, you can comment on when you look at YouTube at the Shakedown podcast. You can comment on the episode if you've got questions or whatever the case may be. You can email us at theshakedown@jailtraining.org. So if you've got anything you want to discuss, questions asked, shoot those to us. In the meantime, tell some folks that that may not be exposed to this. Tell them about it, and hopefully we can be an encouragement to them. But as always, guys, stay sharp, stay safe, stay vigilant. Godspeed.